Hello dear students, this is Nilesh Patil sir and I welcome you all in this session of the English Academy. In today's session we are going to continue studying the rise of nationalism in Europe. Previously we have studied two parts of this chapter. We have studied Frederick Soreau's painting. We have studied the French Revolution and the idea of nationalism, where we studied Napoleonic Civil Code as well. Dear students, in today's lecture, I am going to explain mainly the Habsburg Empire. So, what was this Habsburg Empire? It was a patchwork of different regions and peoples. My dear students, what we know today as Germany, Italy, Switzerland did not exist then. These were divided into kingdoms, duchies, and cantons. Their rulers were autocratic, autonomous. They were independent empires. And the people living there did not share anything in common. You see, they did not have any collective identity. Even their rulers followed different culture. They were just being ruled by someone who had won over the territory. So the Europe and the European countries that we know today did not exist then, right? So the example here we are studying is that of Austria-Hungary. So this was called as Habsburg Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire. So this was a patchwork of different regions and different peoples. It consisted of the Alpines. Now the Alpine, it's a geographic term that simply means mountainous region. So these were areas called Tyrol, Austria, and Bohemia. In these regions, the aristocracy was predominantly German speaking. That was a dominant class here, German speaking people. Then in Galicia, here there was this another region, people used Polish language. You can see it was close to Poland. This Habsburg Empire also included the Italian speaking regions of Lombardy and Venetia, which are not shown on this map, by the way. But you can understand this is the part of Italy that was ruled by the Austrian Empire, Austro-Hungarian Empire. So it included the part of Italian speaking regions of Lombardy and Venetia. Then in Hungary, majority of people spoke Magyar language. Half the population spoke Magyar language, the rest used different dialects. So here we are talking about aristocrats in different regions, speaking German language, Polish, Magyar, Italian. Besides these dominant groups, there were mass subject peasants. A large number of people who were peasants, they spoke variety of language. So you see, this is a different class, altogether different class. So these included, in the north there were these Bohemians, and then in the south there were, you see, Croats. In the north there was one more group which is like not mentioned here because these were social groups. So Slovenes in the north, Slovenes. Then there were these Carniola. There were people, I guess they were Slav people in Carniola, Croats in Croatia. Okay. Then to the east of this Transylvania, there were Romans. Okay, Romans, not Romans. Okay, it is spelled differently. So this basically explains that the people were being ruled by the autocratic monarchs. who did not, you see, share anything in common. There were different groups, social groups, economic groups, linguistic groups being ruled by a common emperor. Austro-Hungarian Empire was a large one. Okay, so we are studying its example. But basically, we need to understand that there were no nation states. Germany, Italy, Switzerland, these are nation states today. These did not exist then. These were divided into kingdoms, duchies, cantons, whose people did not share anything in common. And so these divisions did not promote political unity. You see, later on, they were politically united. Germany, Italy, nations were formed, but this kind of division discouraged political unity. So there was only one thing common among these people. There was a common allegiance to their emperor, their ruler. Now let's talk about, dear students, here the notes on Habsburg Empire I have tried to include. These will be useful to you, and I have already explained the notes that you can see on this slide. So I'm just simply, you can, like, if you wish, you can pause the video and you can read out this, you see, these notes, and you can go back and watch the, you see, map again. Moving ahead, we shall talk about the major social and political groups. So you see, the most dominant group, politically, socially, most dominant group was the aristocracy. Okay, so the aristocracy, the landed aristocracy, was the most dominant group, and they were united by a common way of life that cut across regional divisions. Like, may they be living in Germany, may they be living in parts of Russia, may they be living in, you see, to the west, like in France, they all shared common way of life. They owned estates in the countryside, large estates like fields. Okay, and in they had town houses too. If you happen to read some literature of this period, you will get to read about the aristocracy, their common way of life. There's a very nice novel by Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. If you read this novel, you will understand the way aristocrats live there. Okay, their life is described in that novel. So they owned estates in countryside townhouses. They spoke French for the purpose of diplomacy and in high society. Then their families were often connected by ties of marriage. So you might remember the Emperor of France, Louis XVI, married to an Austrian princess, that was Marie Antoinette. So this just tells us that aristocrats married among themselves, and this group shared some common way of life, and it was a dominant class in Europe. Moving ahead, yes, one more thing that I forgot to tell you, that has popped up here. Numerically, this group was small. The majority of people were the peasants. Okay, now the pattern of land holding differed in the west and in the east and central part of Europe. In the west, uh, land was cultivated by tenants. There were small farmers. Okay, and in the east and central part, there were vast estates that were cultivated by serfs. I hope you understand who serfs are. They are actually bonded laborers, okay, who worked on the field of their master for a little pay or no pay at all. They just survived somehow. So the serfs cultivated the land of their masters, the aristocrats, in the east and central part. So this was the pattern of land holding. Moving ahead, we must talk about the new social group, because the idea of nationalism emerged among these groups. So there was growth of industrial production, there was growth of trade, and this facilitated the growth of towns and emergence of commercial classes, like those whose lives depended on trade. Industrialization started in England quite early, like in the middle of 18th century. But in the rest of the Europe, it spread quite slowly. In countries like Germany, France, Russia, industrialization spread slowly and reached, like it could affect these countries only in the 19th century, in the early 19th century. So new social groups came into being in the wake of industrial revolution. There was a sizable working class population now. Middle classes consisted of industrialists, businessmen, professionals. Then, so these different groups, new middle classes emerged. They were professionals. They had got some education. They had earned some wealth. So they hated the, you see, system of privileges by birth, because they had made their wealth through hard work, right? So they disliked if someone just enjoyed these privileges because he was born in a noble's family. So the idea of national unity gained popularity among these educated middle classes. So I hope, dear students, this explanation is clear to you. And there are some questions, assignments based on this topic that you will get in this section. I thank you for watching this video. Please do the assignments so you can check whether you have understood this topic or not. And that includes very important questions that will help you from the exam point of view. So thank you for watching. Have a great day ahead.